The story could have ended with a 16-year-old who got relief from shoulder pain after a football injury. It could have ended with an Iowa kid who was the first in his family to get a college degree. But today's story is about something much bigger. It's about how chiropractic improves performance, can change your life, and how that Iowa kid now became a new patient specialist and a chiropractic advocate. Hi, I'm Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media and host of What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate podcast. And today is a special episode where you'll learn not only that story, but also different ways to communicate, including how to handle some of the most common objections that we hear about chiropractic. So enjoy. So today on What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate podcast, I have a special guest, James Chester. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, it's going to be fun today. We'll share a lot of information.
Absolutely. So what is cool is that, James, you're not a chiropractor. You're a chiropractic advocate like me. So we get to have a lot of fun with sharing what chiropractic means to you from a different perspective than someone who is a practicing chiropractor. So I love that. As often as we start with a story, I want to kind of start with a little foreshadowing, as we say in storytelling, and say where you're at now. So you have the Chiro Hustle podcast. You speak on chiropractic stages. Tell us a little bit more about what you do currently.
Yeah, well, I think the most exciting thing is I'm writing my first book.
Awesome.
You know, outside of chiropractic, but I always tell people I believe everybody has at least one book in them.
Yeah.
And it's time. So I'm on, I believe, like chapter 11 of 17 right now. So cruising right along.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And what I do in chiropractic is I just learn to, I guess, in the world that we both come from, is tell the story from different perspectives. It's not just the story of the patient. It's not just the story of doing sales. It's not just the story of interviewing people. It's just the overarching story of chiropractic. I just tell the story in different segments. So it takes a lot of different fine tuning to craft what we do and to be able to deliver consistently. I think that's the biggest part, is delivering the message and telling the story consistently.
Love that. Absolutely. So in your story, tell us what life was like before chiropractic. You're originally from Davenport, Iowa, which is so cool. But tell us, what was life like?
Oh gosh, just a kid from the neighborhood. Grew up running the streets. First in my family get a college degree. Yeah, pretty big. I mean, that was kind of a big storyline in my life. Was I feel like I did things that no one else did, like traveled abroad and got a passport. The first person in my family to get a passport, and just these things. But my ambition was always to go see the world, and I think that I've done that with a lot of curiosity and a lot of grit, a lot of determination. And when you pair that up together with knowledge and skill sets, you can go do whatever you want. And that was something that I had to always believe in, like early on, is just go do something that you're willing to exchange your time for. You know, one of the first quotes that I ever really would send out on my email signature list is, "What I do today is important. It's because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it." I think I started sending that out as soon as I got this email account. The new one is something like, I didn't have to start selling chiropractic. I did it immediately. And I think when people understand, we can become who we want to be with time and repetition and determination. And if you do that, you can get out of the neighborhood that you grew up in, and you can get an education, and you can become an influence in the world. So I just think I'm just an average guy that just had some big ideas and decided to align all of it. And I guess that's where we're at today.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what did you get your degree in? And then where did you go after college?
Yeah, so that's a fun story. Ended up finishing up university with a degree in multimedia graphic communication with an emphasis in journalism. So I was gearing up to be the next writer for National Geographic. I started writing for my college newspaper, editing the newspaper, worked for the newspaper in Davenport, Iowa, doing sports journalism. That was after college. But I really was gearing towards that, or TV broadcasts, doing soccer commentary. I played soccer for 22 years. So I was really at that phase of life. I wanted to go see the world and write about it. with my degree, or I wanted to become somebody that could tell the story about sports, which I loved. I played soccer and I just loved it. And I was like, I could probably be a play-by-play guy. So anyways, I did training in journalism. And after college, I did the stint working for the newspaper. And then it's a fun story, but I took the longest lunch break in history. I just didn't like the congruency of the message that was being delivered through the media journalism. And I quit. I just walked away one day. And everybody thought I was crazy. True story. My family thought I was nuts because I'm the one that went to school for this cool job and I got the job thing. And then one day I just said, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. So anyways, I quit. I did everything under the sun in the service industry. I parked cars, delivered pizzas, made pizzas, bar back, host, waited tables, bartended. I was a service industry guy after college. And I loved it. I had a lot of fun. And one day I was working, and the guy that was working at the piano bar with me doing ID checks, he was going to college to become a chiropractor. And it happens that I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. Most of my friends started becoming chiropractors. Anyways, he's like, hey man, I think you'd make a fantastic addition to what I'm doing up in Chicago when I finish school. I see how good you are with people. I think we could translate that into you helping me run my office. So I did that. I left the service industry and moved up to Chicago 17 years ago now and started working in a chiropractic biophysics clinic and learned everything there was under the sun about the profession and studied the greats and read the books and went to the seminars and got mentors and did all the things. And yeah, so I guess that's that transition story of how I finished up and got into the profession, and now we are, I guess, where we're at.
I love that. It's so cool that you had the wisdom too to see that the people skills you were learning translated into this bigger purpose, this bigger vision that you had for your life, that you had that time to learn those skills and develop that. Because I think sometimes we don't always, especially when we're that young, right out of college, have the insight to realize that this is a precious training ground. So I want to get more into chiropractic itself. How has chiropractic adjustments been improving your life? What is that part of the story?
Well, I'll go back to finish up something there. It's like you're saying about seeing something in ourselves, but it's really what someone else sees in us. It's like, what do you demonstrate with your attitude and behavior on a day-to-day basis that people can see the good in you that might give more opportunity to you in the future? So that saying of how you do one thing is how you do everything. Well, I think all things should translate to the next thing. We should all evolve and have that toolbox that we've learned and take it with us to whatever we go into. So that's just to tie up that last bit of conversation. But 16 years old, growing up in Iowa, I'd never been adjusted till I was 16. I had an injury playing high school football, messed up my shoulder a little bit, and the athletic trainer's like, hey, you need to go get x-rays on this. It's 1995, about that time. And anyways, I go over to Palmer because they have an x-ray unit and they did a discount package for their student clinic. So my mom takes me over there, and back then they were speaking subluxation. And I remember they asked my mom if they could do x-rays of my shoulder. Well, she brought me in for my shoulder, but they said, can we do x-rays of his spine too to see if he's got any subluxation? So anyways, they did x-rays of me and determined that I was a candidate for getting adjusted. So anyways, I'd get adjusted. I just knew I felt better. I performed better. I didn't really understand the science behind it, like most people. I just knew that it gave me an optimized performance. And I just asked my mom if she would always make sure that I could get adjusted before big games and after big tournaments and stuff, or before tournaments and things. And she would always save money aside just to make sure I could go get adjusted. So I knew from an early age that, without even understanding the medical world much, I just knew that getting adjusted was good for my body.
Yes. And I think that sometimes it is when we say it in those simplest terms. So it was Dr. Neil Cohen at Focus Oklahoma City a couple weeks ago that said it that way too. He said, just helping people to understand that it's good for you. And sometimes I think, it is in those simple childlike things, my 7-year-old can understand it's good for you. So I think that that's such a great way that you were introduced to chiropractic from this performance aspect.
Yeah, and I think that we don't need to overcomplicate it for people. And, there's a lot of times when chiropractors, they frame their reality around representing BJ Palmer, or they frame their reality over representing the philosophy, and they show that off at their offices. And really, people just want to come there and get better, and they just want to get somebody to take care of them. The average human will never really understand the depth of the profession, or the languages behind the profession, or the philosophies within the profession. So I think it's just really important for people to know that there's a distinction, that people don't give a rip really about the way you think. They just want you to make them feel better. And if you can deliver on that promise, then you can start speaking to people about this chiropractic reality that we know. And that's like adjusted reality. Like, you get an adjusted reality when you just give people what they're looking for. And most people aren't looking for a book. They're not looking for a pamphlet. They're not looking for a philosophy chat. They're not looking to talk about universal intelligence. They're like, I want to talk about this sciatica. I want to talk about this insomnia. I want to talk about this colic. I want to talk about this numbness and tingling in my arms. Like, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about why it hurts when I walk, why my hip hurts. That's what they want to talk about. So I think in order for us to understand the conversations, once again, you have to segment it and deliver it to people from a very educated mindset to know that you are talking on their language level.
Yes. Dr. Barbara Eaton talked a few years ago about this book, Brain-centric Design, by Rich Carr and Kieran O'Malley. I'm going to put it in the show notes because it was just a cool book. And not about chiropractic, but about how we learn and how humans learn. And one of the things that stuck with me was just what you said, that people aren't even able to access their prefrontal cortex and their decision-making, logic-making, because we're stuck in this amygdala hijack. And so now I do try to think through, like, even when I'm talking to my kids, when it's like, it's clear that they're not calm and centered and ready to have a philosophical discussion about life. They're hungry. They're tired. All of these things. And to realize that, yes, the average person we're talking to, especially if they're already dealing with a health issue, they're just overwhelmed. They're already overloaded.
Yeah, and honestly, most of the time when people start getting adjusted, I always tell them psychologically, I pre-plan it for them. I'll say, probably by like your 7th time or so, you probably won't even remember what you first came in for.
I love that.
And I think it's true, because when an issue resolves, it's not the main focus anymore. And when you get your head on straight and you get your nervous system firing the way it's supposed to again, issues start to resolve. And that's the thing, is it's not an issue if it's not an issue. And when you clear up the issue, people, honestly, they don't remember after 2 months of feeling better what the big problem was. You could even do a re-exam on them and ask them, did you remember what you originally came in for? And I guarantee you 50% of them won't remember, just because it's not front and center as a pain point in their life anymore. They've gone on, they've moved on to new ideas and new feelings and more optimized people doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes. Well, and even when I think about my journey, when I first came to my chiropractor, I had neck pain that was so bad that I would hold my head and my neck in order to sneeze, and I'd go, chut. And, that's been 14 years ago. And that issue has never returned. So no, I don't go back to the chiropractor so that that issue doesn't return. Yes, we've moved on. We've gone on to other things. But I want to get into, because this is a golden opportunity for people to hear from you, what is it that you do that gives back to the profession? How are you working with chiropractors currently?
Yeah, I mean, do we have all day?
Kind of.
It's not what I'm giving, it's what I do, and I've learned some survival skills in this world. And one of those survival things is, if you want to make $1 million, help 1 million people. And I think that I've just learned that the more people that I serve, the better my life becomes. And if everybody just wrote that down and just did that, we'd have a whole different reality. So it's not about what I do or what I don't do. I like it when people don't necessarily can paint me into a corner and say, he does that. Like I love the mystic idea that nobody really knows what I do. You know, I can get new patients like with the wave of a wand. I can interview 5 people on a single day. You know, it's like, what is it that I do is I filled a gap. I filled a gap that was missing, and I saw that the profession was in turmoil and bickering. And I said, well, while they're in the middle of this, I'm just going to go take the keys to the kingdom, and I'm going to outproduce them with content, and I'm going to share their story, and I'm going to put them on my back, and I'm going to right the wrongs, and I'm going to tell people the truth of this profession for a decade and see how that goes and see what a decade gives me. And then I was like, well, what another decade will give me. And I just think that over time, I've become so determined to just stick with my plan that I don't get lost. And I believe that when you give from that place and you work from that capacity, that becomes fun. And then people start to realize that you're a subject matter expert in what you do. And you get opportunities to go speak places. And you get opportunities for publishers to reach out and say, hey, you should write a book. But the new patient stuff, it's not always fun. It's not always fun talking to people in the public about chiropractic. It's not always fun standing up 8 to 10 hours a day talking to people about how you can help them and delivering on the promise. It's not always fun getting in airplanes, being in different cities, sleeping in Airbnbs and hotels and Ubers and rental cars. It's not always fun because a lot of stuff happens along that with delays and disappointments and cancellations and long days worked. So when it comes down to it, what do I really do? I built a career for myself, and I work in a profession that I love.
I love it. Yeah. It's interesting. I like what you said about not being put into a corner because it shows the adaptability that is important to you, I think. I had somebody once that told me, Jenna, you should hone in on Instagram and just say you're, the queen of chiropractic Instagram or something. And I was like, I don't want to be tied to one app. If Instagram isn't here, I will still do what I do. And I think that is in the vein of what you're saying, is that as you find gaps to fill, you will move to fill them.
Yeah, and I think that it's a big marketplace, and I specialize in new patients. Like, what a gift. What a real gift, from a digital platform to an in-person platform. And I think that when people understand that I'm congruent with the profession and I'm fun to work with and you get to talk to me regularly, I mean, it's a good match. I've become knowledgeable about sales, and I saw that as like one of the big divisions in the profession is nobody could sell the profession. And, go sell chiropractic, guys. Go sell it. Go sell it as much as you possibly can. Because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to close them for drugs or surgery. That's Barry Anderson. And we have to go out there and tell people the story and to help them. So, I'm on the soapbox a little bit here, but I think that building a career for yourself and doing meaningful work is really the only thing that matters in this lifetime. And, the other parts of life that come along with it, with good, healthy relationships and taking care of your body and having good spirituality and stuff. But when it comes down to it, I think just go help a bunch of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like what you said earlier, too, about if I'm going to exchange my time for this. I can't remember who said the quote. I need to look that up. What are you going to do with your one wild, beautiful life? And I think about that because I'm a mom. I have 4 kids. And so if I am going to spend time away from them, if I'm going to spend time, not making chocolate chip cookies for them to come home to, it needs to be meaningful work because they are my meaningful work. And like you said, what can I do in a decade? And part of my purpose is that these children, whether they want to be chiropractors or wherever they live in the world, that they would be able to find a chiropractor who can tell them the story, who can take good care of them, and that my grandchildren would live in a world where there is still chiropractors who can tell them the story and give them a good adjustment and have this generational explosion of health.
Well, maybe when that stage happens, it's not called chiropractic anymore either. Who knows? That's the thing about being adaptive and understanding that nothing ever stays the same, no matter how long you want to hold on to what we fight for identity. Maybe it becomes something new. Who knows? As long as it's doing the right thing for the way that people are presenting that in that decade and that generation. I think that, do I ever want chiropractic to change? Of course not. I love it the way that it is. But if you grab a handful of sand and hold on to it for as long as you can, what will happen? Eventually the sand will come out of your hand and you'll have nothing. So we have to be careful of what fights we're into also and what we want to hold on to. And I love that you said that too, is like my kids. Well, when your kids' kids are out there, who knows? Who knows what the profession will evolve into? It's come to where it is today, and it will only go as far as where we take it.
Yeah. I'm going to take this back to something that I love, which is storytelling. And I think about humanity through the ages. We've always told stories. There's a lot of oral traditions in a lot of cultures. And I think about how, whether it's in the 90s when we started using Microsoft Word and typing out our little stories and things, or today when people are using AI to help them write stories, like part of it has changed. And yet I'm still going to sit down around the fire pit tonight with my kids, and we're still going to tell a story. And I love that when we keep the heart and soul of something, storytelling with family and friends in this communal situation, whether it is with Windows or AI, there's an element of that stays the same. And I think that is what I want to fight for in chiropractic, that the heart and soul stays the same.
Well, I think you've nailed a lot of it there. But once again, you're talking AI and evolution of technology within the way that our lives interact with robots and the way our lives interact with frequencies and energies. Well, over time, that's going to adapt humanity. And we've seen it happening. We've seen more forward head posture. We've seen more poor posture. We've seen more wrecked spines in the cervical thoracic juncture. I mean, we've seen the sedentary life, the tightening up of the hip flexors on men, the tightening up of the hamstrings on men because of the sitting posture all day, the weight gain around the waist, the breathing problems, like the sitting lifestyle with technology. If people really wanted to like get kind of zoomed out and freaked out a little bit, think about people that are holding a phone every day, and then think about what a dementia patient looks like. And then put them right next to each other and they'll look quite similar. And I call it digital dementia. And I think as we develop into the future, who knows what 2030 holds with technology and society? Is it going to be something that enlightens us and gives us more freedoms? Or is it going to be something that imprisons us and gives us more fear? So that will have a lot to do on the human conditioning and the postures of how humans develop. So I think the future of where we're at, we have no idea, but I haven't seen people's posture improving since technology.
No.
I haven't really seen their sedentary lifestyles improving either. So I think that when we think about what we're doing and keeping the heart and soul pure for chiropractic, sure. But where does technology push us into this future idea of that people are going to adapt differently?
Yeah. Well, I want to also ask, because, you've said that you talk to a lot of people, you specialize in new patients. What are some your frequently asked questions that the general public asks you, and how do you respond?
Oh, gosh.
Like maybe your top two.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see what comes up in the ethers of my mind, but a lot of times I don't believe in chiropractic, okay? I'm sure that's a pretty common thing. And it's a very, kind of aggressive introduction to meeting somebody. And you're like, what a jerk. But, my first thing I think is, well, you don't have to believe in chiropractic. It's not a belief system. It's like gravity. It works whether you believe it or not. And then I do the old Sid Williams thing and I drop something and I say, you don't have to believe in what we do. But once you get adjusted, I guarantee your life will improve. And it breaks down that barrier of them thinking they know it all and allowing them to know that what they came in as their argument couldn't hold up because it doesn't make sense. So I just had a chance to unwind some of their neurological fears and angers with one reframe and one teaching moment and then one conversion. So I guess that's like a good example of one I'd say another is, if I come this one time, well, I have to come for the rest of my life. And I like it because you're making me think here. It's not just canned responses. But when somebody asks me, like, do I have to come for the rest of my life? And I'm like, well, do you go to the dentist for the rest of your life? I mean, I'm very frank with them, and I say, like, look, how frequently do you go to the dentist? And I'm like, well, that's as important as coming to see the chiropractor. And if you're 30 years old, you've never seen the chiropractor, it might be a good chance to come in and get an exam and get some x-rays and see what it's like to get adjusted. It could be the best decision you ever made in your entire life. And I kind of turn it from me questioning them and a little push-pull sales as I pressure them to think, well, yeah, I go to the dentist, but then I question the opener, well, you should probably get this checked too. And it just goes to another conversion. I get them to start thinking about how this might improve their quality of life. And is it safe for kids, you know? And I say, yeah, we don't twist, crack, or pop. I was like, you're going to come in and see a doc. They're going to do a pediatric exam. And they're going to tell you what's going on, how much concern there is, and how they can help you. If you like us, you think we're a good fit, we start taking care of you. So I think just framing the language and repetition and speed, it's almost like a stand-up comedian. Like you have to like hit your lines right when it's necessary to get the crowd's reaction. I just do that from one to one. I do that type of interaction with every human I meet. And I find out what their problem is. I tell them we can help them. I tell them how the system goes. I tell them what to expect on their first visit and second visit. And when they come in, they convert to care because I get to know them as a person. And then I say, by visit 7, you're probably going to become our number one referral source. And I'm always pre-framing the future for people because I can set the place for them that they don't know they're going to go play.
I like that you mentioned stand-up and timing. I personally love stand-up. I really enjoy even like the dry bar comedy videos. Facebook now knows that that's what I need in my day, sends me little clips. But also because you're using humor and that Socratic method to get them back out of their amygdala into their prefrontal cortex. Like you said with the dentist, everybody's going to get a laugh when you say something like, oh yeah, I went to the gym once. I'm waiting for my six-pack to show up. You know, they're like, oh, well, I mean, obviously, we know that you're going to need to go to the gym with time and repetition if you want these kinds of results and this kind of performance. So I love that you mentioned that, but also the pre-framing, because what you're also doing, and what I think sometimes we're too hesitant to do, is to say the path that we're leading you on is not just awareness, it's not just conversion. The path we're leading you on is you become a chiropractic advocate, referring, leaving reviews, all of those things. And so you're pre-framing it so that they already know that. So when they get the review wave or the aloha or the text or whatever that says, would you like to refer somebody? Would you like to leave a review? They're like, oh, James already told me this was going to happen.
Yeah. And that's just it, is every client that I work with, they get that added touch of expert. And those people that I meet, they get that extra touch of expert. And I think that when you do something for a long time, like if I've scheduled 11,500 people in, you can imagine the amount of people I've talked to that didn't schedule. It's probably 100 times that, probably 100 times that number. And when you think about like the amount of people I've had to like play verbal judo with, it's just taught me better character traits of how to help people or to get somebody to leave right away. Like if I want somebody to go, like they don't stick around either. So I've learned how to like help people in, and I've also learned how to send people on their way, which I think is also a real like skill in this world. Is people will also come to you and they'll want to dump everything out of their suitcase on you and tell you all the surgeries they've had and all the medications that they've had. And I'll say, hey, you know what? Good news is I'm not a doctor, but the other good news is I can get you scheduled in for this price. And you can come see the doctor, and then you can tell them all about your concerns, because you telling me these things today aren't going to get us anywhere. The only thing going to get us anywhere is if you fill out this form, tell me who you are, what your concerns are, pay me some money, and I get you set up for your first visit. That's the only thing that's going to matter here with me and you today.
Yeah, I love that. That's good. Well, I know, like you said, we could keep talking all day, but I would love for you to tell us where people can find you, connect with you. What's your favorite place to connect with people? And I'll put all the links in the show notes.
Well, good news is I like to make money. So go over to bluerhinoai.com and work with my digital ad company. We're crushing it. I love helping people and I love making money the right way by delivering a good service to people. You can also go over to chirohustle.com. Check out the podcast. It's free. We've been doing it for 8 years. Been telling the story for a long time. So if you go over there and you want new patients, you can go check out our digital course called New Patients in a Box. There's a tab on the website. Help yourself. Once again, send me some money and go get some new patients. Yeah, I've learned over time, like the most important thing is health and finances. And if you have both those going for you, you have a long, good life. So I like to make money and I like to stay healthy. So that's why I love the chiropractic profession. I love supporting chiropractors. But I also launched a new show. If you guys go to YouTube, check it out. It's called Get Better Faster. I'm expanding my footprint and interviewing subject matter experts from everything from cardiovascular health to peptides to women's hormones to guys like John DeMartini all the way to Peter McCullough. So we're stepping outside the framework of chiro and going a bit broader, but bringing more attention to the chiropractic philosophy. Because everybody that I talk to, my co-host is also a chiropractor, they get a dose of chiro philosophy within the frameworks of what they believe in, and we bring it home with that too. So it will be called getbetterfasterpodcast.com. So there's 3 websites: Chiro Hustle, Blue Rhino AI, and Get Better Faster. So yeah, connect with me. Send me a friend request on Facebook. Send me a message on Messenger. If I can help you, I will.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all of this today.